I'd like to call a public hearing to consider a contribution of $93,600 over 3 years to allow certain interior renovations at Gurnee Mills Shopping Center to facilitate relocating 4 Alpha Media radio stations to the center. Financial assistance includes a 3-year radio advertising package for the village. Roll call, please, Patrick.
Hood. Here. Balmas.
Present.
Garner. Here. Ross.
Here.
Dorsenson.
Here.
Jacobs.
Here.
All present.
All right, so we have a short presentation by Ellen, and we do have representatives from the radio station in the Mills tonight, so I'll let her take it away.
You have 13 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. What we're asking the board to review tonight is a wonderful opportunity, in my opinion, and hopefully yours as well, to pull 2 of our partners together, Gurnee Mills and Alpha Media, in an arrangement which I think will benefit not only them, but our broader business community as well. This item is actually a combination of 2 agreements, which we'll review together in tandem tonight. The first is a redevelopment agreement between the village and Gurnee Mills, which provides for the village contribution toward tenant improvements, which are necessary to prepare a tenant space for Alpha Media and the 4 radio stations that we hope they bring to Gurnee Mills. The second is a trade agreement with Alpha Media to provide on-air advertising for the village to promote our shopping, dining, events, and attractions. So last summer, the background on this is that we were informed by Alpha Media that the flooding of July had severely impacted their Waukegan facility. So that was really forcing a decision to move out of that facility. It had been in the works, I think, for several years, but that was really the straw that broke the camel's back. So that presents an opportunity to combine those 2 stations with the 2 Kenosha stations. And while the ownership really was preferring sites that enabled them to own their own real estate, and of course sites under consideration in both Illinois and Wisconsin, given the trade area, or the service area of the 2 stations, the 4 stations, really they were preferring to own, but Alpha Media, given their relationship with the village, recognized that Gurnee Mills provided central location, tollway access, and the opportunity to host major events. So they came to the village and asked whether there might be support from us to help put Gurnee Mills onto a consideration list, which heretofore was really including sites that they could own. So 2 spaces in Gurnee Mills initially were evaluated for suitability for the stations. The engineering team came in. The one that was ultimately rejected was the corner bakery space between Bass Pro and Saks. The search was narrowed down to the one which they ultimately decided to pursue between Burlington and Floor and Decor, which is actually 3 inline tenant spaces which will be combined into one 8,600 square foot space for the 4 stations. So in our view, the project benefits are really multifaceted. These 3 spaces have either been vacant or housed only temporary tenants for more than 10 years. This wing has been more difficult to lease than other parts of the mall. So to be able to finally bring a permanent tenant, and especially one as unique as the radio stations, will give shoppers new reasons to venture up to the north end of the mall, which is quickly establishing itself as the entertainment wing with the movie theater, the pizza place, 60 to Escape, and now, as of this week, Ringside. So the idea is to construct the radio stations with a glass storefront so that shoppers and passersby can observe the personalities while they're on air. The show court being right outside with an exterior entrance, which makes it perfect for housing events, concerts, drawing crowds. The events that we're proposing to bring, some are community-oriented, such as the Holiday Toy Drive and the Caroling Contest. Some are really more of a regional nature. So, for instance, when there's a performer at Ravinia or somewhere downtown, the stations can sometimes, through their relationships with that performer, bring them into the mall for a daytime event. So that's certainly an opportunity that we would not have any other way. And some of those crowds can be quite large, up to 1,000 people. So all in all, the expectation is to add 32 new events to the mall. And on top of all that activity, which of course is a major benefit to that north wing, if we needed yet another reason on top of all that, really the payback is truly immediate. Because of the advertising that we have negotiated as part of this deal. Normally we think of our incentive deals in terms of payback period. As far as I'm concerned, that's immediate because we'll be receiving tangible benefit right away. So to quickly review the components of each of the 2 agreements, which are distinct and separate but referential to one another. The amendment to our redevelopment agreement with Gurnee Mills should probably look fairly familiar to the board. It follows the same format that we typically have used in the past, but the elements that tailor it to this particular project are the condition that all 4 stations be operational and broadcasting from Gurnee Mills before the incentive would kick in. So the move-in at this point looks like it will be in 2 phases. The Waukegan stations have a greater need because of the flooding. So they will probably move in first, and the build-out is quite extensive. So they'll probably move in first, followed by the 2 Kenosha stations. But all parties are very clear on the fact that all 4 stations need to be in place before our incentive takes effect. Gurnee Mills is to provide tenant space improvements totaling $93,600, which is the value of our investment. Upon submittal of their verified expenses year to year, we will reimburse for up to $31,200 per year for 3 years, so that's a very modest out-of-pocket. Exhibit B in the agreement details the space improvements, but they're all capital in nature, most of them anyway, and durable, so that they will extend beyond the life of this particular tenant. So the bids, while they're not quite finalized yet, they're expected to easily exceed $266,500, well, in excess of our investment. The second agreement before the board is the distinct and separate agreement with Alpha Media, separate from the RDA. This is essentially Alpha Media's standard advertising contract, which we have modified significantly to provide for the advertising that we are looking for, and also, more importantly, a zero out-of-pocket dollar amount, because Alpha will be receiving its benefit via Gurnee Mills. So essentially, we're paying Gurnee Mills for the capital improvements. That's how Alpha receives its benefit, and in turn, we receive advertising services of equal or greater value to that. So the trade agreement specifically entitles the village to weekly on-air appearances on the XLC Morning Show. The really neat part about this is our partners, Great Wolf, Six Flags, Visit Lake County, the Chamber of Commerce, the Park District are all specifically, explicitly approved by the station to join us on those on-air segments, so we can share those spots. Others may be approved as well, but those are going to be subject to the approval of the station. We specifically called out those to receive prior approval. We'll receive 40 commercials monthly, which are a combination of 30 and 60-second spots, which may be changed up to 4 times a year to keep them current. And in the event that the village requires services extraordinary to the contract, so for instance, an on-site event might require talent to be there, or a particular commercial, we may need more production time, rather than increasing our out-of-pocket by paying a fee, we'll just trade spots in exchange for that. And this agreement is what memorializes the 32 events held annually at Gurnee Mills. So the opportunity, clearly, in my view, and I think in the view of several of those who have been working on it, fulfills multiple objectives. It ticks a lot of the boxes we look for in economic development. It's a unique use. It's experiential versus straight retail. It gives people a reason to come to Gurnee Mills, to venture up to the north end of the mall. They're going to be hearing about events and activities on the radio that they might not have known about otherwise, so we think it really increases visitorship to the community. It reinforces the specific, immediate, entertainment and dining uses that are right around it, in a location where there has not been a permanent use for many, many years. And of course, no store or entertainment user can be an island. They need people around them, and to give shoppers multiple reasons to stop by and visit. So this does this in a grand way, given that the glass storefront facilitates that kind of fun factor to be able to see the broadcasting going on. And of course, we think this rising tide raises all ships. All of our businesses benefit by the Gurnee's Got It messaging that we'll be putting out through this partnership that just promotes Gurnee as a place to visit, shop, dine, and be entertained. So I think the parties that have been working on it, we're all excited. It's certainly not done, and as you have probably gathered by now, the ink is not dry, but it is very much in process. And I think Carl Wertzler with Alpha Media and Randy Ibertowski with Gurnee Mills can certainly speak to what's been done so far, and we're certainly all available to answer questions about where we're at. But thanks for the consideration.
All right. Carl or Randy, I need to swear you in if you want to make a statement. So it's a public hearing, so we have to swear you in.
If anyone would like to comment on this, just raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do? Okay. You may proceed.
So the floor is all yours.
Randy Bertowski, Gurnee Mills. I can't tell you how excited we are about this opportunity. And as Ellen went through in the presentation, the Raising All Boats, the entertainment factor, the partnership, the community involvement, the fun factor, it's all a fit. So we're extremely excited and hopeful that this is going to come to fruition and with the help of the village.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Carl.
Carl Wertzler, General Manager, Alpha Media, radio stations in Waukegan and Kenosha. And as Randy was saying, the fun factor is huge with all of this. Ellen pointed out in one of the slides, upwards of 32, maybe more, shows and or events taking place in the show court. Oddly enough, that space is right next to the space we would occupy. So you can't beat proximity, and you can't beat mini concerts, and you can't beat drawing a crowd, and you cannot beat bringing consumers to Gurnee Mills Mall. Some regular faces and many, many new faces. I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Carl. Do you want to say anything, Haynes, or did you just want to you just sworn in just for the thrill of it?
I was looking for an experience. Haynes Johns, I'm Operations Manager, a Program Director of WXLC, and also do afternoons. But we've done a lot of partnerships with the village already, and also with Gurnee Mills. So it's kind of like just a natural progression of the relationship that we have already with the village. But we're very excited about the opportunity and the possibilities. And anytime somebody asks, are we excited about it, it's like, you have no idea. Because the fact that this space has gone, in and out of being leased and stuff like that. I mean, radio stations don't move, hardly ever.
Unless they flood.
So, yes. And by the way, we don't use the F word anymore in our building. Okay. So it was a bad experience. So, but I mean, we're excited about that, but also the fact that there's a show court there with the stage. And like I said, all the other events that we've already been doing with Gurnee Mills and also with the village, like the Craft Beer Fest and others. Just a lot of great upside. So we're very much willing to be a partner with the village as tenants, and 1/4 of our full-time workforce already lives in the village. So, I mean, it's just a natural progression.
Natural.
So,
I think it'll be fun when everybody has their favorite DJs to be able to come. You hear them on the radio, and you can stop and watch them with the glass front like they do downtown. I think
see us in our natural habitat.
Yes. Warn Jimmy, please. No, and I think the demographics are different on each radio station, which helps too. Very young audience, hip audience, and then you've got the rock audience, and you've got the talk radio with, and then Hispanic. So it's really covering some great demographics too, and each audience will be attracted to them all. Any questions for either staff or Carl or Randy? Trustee Balmas?
I had already asked the staff about the tower and the height, and is that tower just clean, just 14 feet? Is that my understanding, that the tower is going to be on the roof of the mills? Is it going to have dishes on it or something like that, or?
Essentially a small dish, but in this day and age, with Wi-Fi, everything is encapsulated. Everything is so much smaller than days of old, so to speak, with the giant dishes. The 14-foot high tower is merely a pole. It is a studio transmitter link to beam the signal back to Waukegan at 3250 Belvedere Road. And that's what we need to do to get the signal for WXLC and ESPN to port this. And then from that, we would also do what they call a double hop. That signal would then go from Waukegan to Pleasant Prairie, Wisconsin, for WIIL and WLIP. But no more than 14 feet.
And when you say small, what is small?
I'm not talking a plate like a dish, but if you've seen like a DirecTV, Dish TV, not real big ones.
It's not going to be like the old satellite dishes that
Right.
they used, or that they actually do still have outside of television stations. But that's because, I mean, they have to have that because they're doing video and audio, and they have to grab that signal. So they're beaming down like 4 or 5 signals to that one huge dish. We're transmitting, we're sending. We're only sending, I mean, with the one on the little 14-foot tower, and what we're receiving is very directional to our specific dish, and it's just audio. So we don't need that huge space.
Nothing that would create an eyesore, I guarantee you.
That would be my concern, is
Yes.
that is what our residents are
Yeah.
always concerned about, so,
It would be as aesthetically pleasing as possible.
okay, thank you.
All right, Trustee Thorstensen?
So I think you just answered half of it. I was wondering actually if the new tower would give you greater strength in your signal or distance. But it sounds like you're transmitting to the Belvedere Road, and that's that purpose, more of a relay versus extending your overall strength.
Yes.
Okay.
Coverage areas remain the same as what they are to this day. We would just be in a different location, operating out of a different location.
Thanks. The other one, and maybe I missed this, Ellen, or in the information, but you'd said in your presentation that the incentives don't kick in until we complete the entire 4-station move into Gurnee Mills, and I guess I thought our incentives, when you talk about incentives, are actually us paying back the cost of the build. So if I'm thinking of it more sequentially as a timeline, if you permit me for a moment, I mean, of course, we're doing the build, then the Excelsior and Desportes will move in, and then at some point in the future, Kenosha will move in?
I think it's probably a little quicker together than you're maybe envisioning. As at last conversation, we felt it was likely that all 4 would be in by the end of this year. I don't know if that's still the case, Carl. Maybe you can update us on that.
That would certainly be the goal, yes.
So essentially, the build's going to happen, the move's going to happen, you're going to go live, we pay off the expense, and the advertising starts kind of simultaneously towards the end?
Correct.
The Mills has to submit receipts to us to be reimbursed, so that's usually kind of at the end of the project, they reconcile and then, so.
Great. I'm looking forward to the increased entertainment. Thank you.
We are too.
All right, do I have a motion to recommend?
I had a
Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Garner.
Mine is on the marketing advertising side. You mentioned that there will be a bunch of commercials and such. Will that be on all 4 of the radio stations simultaneously, or how's
No.
that going to work?
It'll primarily be on WXLC.
Okay.
Kind of the flagship station with respect to this particular project. Now, they could be on another station if you wish. The Gurnee's Got It segment will definitely be on WXLC, the weekly Gurnee's Got It segment.
Okay.
What is the listenership of XLC? What do you estimate?
Our cume is around 400,000. So under our signal, to your point about the reach of our signal, under our signal there's around 1.8 million people. That's total population of 6-year-old and older. And so we reach around 400,000 of those. So just with WXLC. And we're obviously always trying to grow that. But the target demographic of what we do versus what Gurnee Mills does just goes hand in glove. So, because we're very female oriented and so is Gurnee Mills. So.
I had a follow-up question.
Sure, Trustee.
So why wouldn't we do it on all 4 stations instead of just the one? Wouldn't we get 4 different audiences?
Yes, sure. Yeah, the Gurnee's Got It segment was specifically tailored for WXLC. You can air the commercials on whatever station you choose at any given time. You can move those around if you like as well.
But my question is, we're going to have 4 radio stations. Why wouldn't we do a commercial on all 4 simultaneously? Why doesn't that work?
That was never part of the plan. Part of the plan was to offer 40 commercials per month. Use them as you wish. You can also bank them as well, and you can air them on the station of your choosing.
But do you understand what I'm saying? There's 4 different audience, 4 different types of radio stations. Wouldn't we reach more people if we did it across all 4?
And you can.
Yes.
You've got your 40 commercials.
Correct.
So, and you can use them wherever you want. If you want to do 10 on the 4 stations, or if you want to do 40 on 1 station, or 20 on 2 stations. You've got 40 to use as you choose.
At your disposal.
But my point is you have 4 radio stations. Are they all broadcasting simultaneously?
No.
No?
They broadcast simultaneously. It's not the same programming. Each station has its own programming.
Okay.
Like the ESPN Deportes is Spanish Deportes, Spanish ESPN.
Yeah, but they can shop at Gurnee Mills too, correct?
Exactly.
Yes, they can.
So it would be to our advantage if we had a commercial run on all 4, because we reach 4 different audiences, which
And
is...
you can do that.
We're
You
going
can do
to,
that. And we can even translate copies.
But does that mean we only get 10 spots instead of 40 spots on 4 stations? Do you see what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying, and if you chose to bank those spots, let's say you wanted to go heavy in the month of May for Mother's Day promotions, or you had a big event in Mother's Day, what you could do is you could bank a couple of months of commercials, and then you have 120 ads that you could air. Across 4 stations, we were talking about 30 ads per station. That's good frequency.
so we're going to put together a communications plan. I mentioned it again to Jack for like the whole year, so we know what we want to advertise, what the content will be. We have a voiceover actor who happens to work for the village that's going to help us, with that part of it, so we have a consistent voice. But we're going to get our messaging down, know what months, and then based on our messaging, we can make those decisions. Is this an ad that should run on all 4 of them? Or should it, which is less frequency on each station if we ran all 4? Or do we only want it on 1 station because of the topic or whatever? So we have those options. So we have an agreement for X amount of commercials. How we choose to use them, we'll have a communications plan that will be put together. And then obviously there's experts at the radio station. They've always been great to work with when we've done we've done advertising with the station. They've always been good with suggestions and how to put the message together and stuff. So, but we don't, that probably later this summer before we start doing any kind of advertising.
I guess what I'm saying is I want to make sure that we get the biggest bang for our buck, and I think that if you're going to run 1 commercial, it's best for us if it ran across 4 stations instead of 1 station at a time. So that means we would get 4 times what it sounds like you're offering us.
We have to see what their demographics, they have good demographics, but the listening audience, there's the whole digital radio advertising, you want to be hitting certain people that have a pretty good chance. Not every station may represent that at the same time. So we'll work through that. I mean, they'll give us good advice.
Well, the issue that I have with it is once we vote it in, I don't think we'll be able to change it. So I just want to make sure up front that we understand what we're doing here. I think it's an excellent idea. I'd be happy too if somebody's going to give me $93,000 to do what I wanted to do. I think it's great. But, I want to make sure that we get the biggest bang for our buck. And I think it makes more sense if you're going to do a commercial, why do it on 1 station? We can do it on 4 stations, especially if we're contributing.
And the other thing I would point out also, you're talking about just commercials, but with the 32 events that we're doing, that doesn't just mean that, suddenly we're doing an event, that's it. We want it to be successful for us as well. So if we've got somebody coming in for a mini concert, we're going to promote that heavily. And it's all going to say, come see, Rick Springfield at Gurnee Mills. He's going to be here for 1 hour for a mini concert, on Friday, February 9th. So come out and see, 1 hour only at Gurnee Mills. So there's going to be a number of promotional mentions that come out of our inventory that we're promoting that event at Gurnee Mills. So And that's just for that one event, and we're doing 32 at least. So.
No, I understand it. You're still talking about less events, commercials than I'm talking about. So I just want to make that clear so that everybody understood that.
Okay. So do I have a motion for a recommendation?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Ballmer, second by trustee Jacobs. Sorry. Roll call. Roll call, please, Andy.
Hood.
Yes.
Thorstensen.
Yes.
Jacobs.
Aye.
Ross.
Aye.
Garner.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
6 aye.
All right, that closes our public hearing. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Ballmer, second by trustee Garner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. You need a break, Andy?
Yeah.
He does not
No,
have a
I'm good.
break.
Let's go.
No, he's ready.
It was a rough drive here. All right. Everybody ready to just jump right in? Okay. I'd like to call the Gurnee Village Board regular meeting of February 5th, 2018 to order. Roll call, please, Andy.
Thorstensen.
Here.
Jacobs.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Garner.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Hood.
Here.
6 present.
All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic